seems like in the media, a lot of times they make the focus appear from the victim and try to make the perpetrator appear as a victim, and they try to take the focus off the actual victim who was murdered, as such as them saying that, you know, the victim was suspended from school. How well do you feel like that would actually have an impact on their case for Zimmerman?
Whatever Trayvon Martin's school record was, would that end up being even in the case, or would George Zimmerman's prior altercation with police end up in the case?
As a DA, and I investigated these kinds of cases all the time with political pressure, with people from both sides demanding a certain justice. At the end of the day, you're going to look at everything that gives you insight into that person. Will a jury ultimately hear that Trayvon had a few suspensions? Probably not, and it's not relevant. He had no juvenile justice record. However, will a jury hear that the defendant Zimmerman had a prior arrest for assault and resisting arrest? Possibly, depending upon whether or not he took the stand. And that's the kind of thing that will depend on, you know, the judge and the circumstances of his
Jeff, you think this is going to go to trial, though? You don't think there'll be a plea agreement?
This will go to trial. This cannot be a plea.
I disagree. I think there's a real possibility of a plea in this case. Absolutely. I think if you look at George Zimmerman, this is someone who has not been involved in the criminal justice system before, who is plainly overwhelmed, intimidated by what's going on. You have a very high first charge, which could lead to a plea bargain for lesser amount. If the Trayvon Martin's family would agree to a plea bargain, and I think that's a very important variable here, but I think a plea bargain is very much a possibility. Not anytime soon. It would, I think all the evidence has to be.
And the reason why it will not be plea bargained is because we demand justice, and justice can only be served in the courtroom where the facts come out in the open so that everyone knows what happened. And as a DA and as a judge, I would not allow a plea in this case. And I don't care if he feels bad now. The issue is, what was his state of mind at the time that he shot Trayvon?
The overwhelming majority of cases end in plea bargains, true?
Well, yeah, not a case like this, Jeffrey. As a DA,
we're going to let them argue this out during commercial break.